Well, I just want to agree that I think Russia is our greatest geopolitical threat because they've been hacking our democracy successfully, and they've been laughing their asses off about it for the last couple of years. So we should focus on that before we start worrying about other threats.
You can't win.
Charlie Brown, no way home. Bring on the dancing horses.
All right, I was ready to record and splice together my video, but it's going to be a lot shorter than I thought it would be because the one that I had shot already, for some reason, the desktop audio wasn't working. So there was a lot of video that you just heard me coughing or kind of shifting around, and you didn't hear the actual video that was playing. Programming note, I forgot to do this last time, though. Next week, could be doing a few live streams, more details later, just live streams on in general. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the priorities are next week. So the second debate. Gonna move through this pretty quickly, just grade a few of these candidates. Grade all of them. Marianne Williamson was weird as hell, but I think that she had that crazy factor that I'm not sure. Sometimes you get these people that can latch on to the voters for whatever reason. Mike Huckabee, for example, in 2008. And not for the same reason. I wouldn't say Mike Huckabee's crazy, but his religious, folksy demeanor really got to people. Marianne Williamson has a little bit of that. Then you also had the fact that she brought up her reparations thing, and it was swallowed up by Kamala Harris attacking Joe Biden for the segregationist issue, where Biden said that he was willing to work with very hardcore racist segregationists. So unfortunately for Marianne Williamson, she tried to hog the spotlight, and apparently Kamala Harris was better at it than her, and I think that Williamson is going to have a real issue getting any traction. So she probably got something like a C, it doesn't really matter. John Hickenlooper, no, not a great debate, but not a great condition for him to debate under. You had all this stuff about how the rich are getting richer and it's not the economy for everyone and blah, 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 and poor people and stuff like that. And the fact is that all the other candidates had, they had complaints to give about poor people, but they didn't really have any ideas about how to actually give them opportunities. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what about the guaranteed jobs plan and everything? Bernie Sanders is known for that. I think a couple other candidates also have one. It's ridiculous. And Hickenlooper could have really set himself apart on that, but I think that he simply was not an interesting enough candidate. They didn't give him enough time anyway, and why would you? I mean, John Hickenlooper, I don't know if he really is. I don't know why he's running this year. I would say that Hickenlooper, if he was really smart, would probably run in another statewide race, or perhaps lobby to be maybe this is his bid to become a VP candidate for someone. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. So yeah, I would say he has like a C minus, though there's not much to go on. Andrew Yang, a D, unfortunately. Very, very, very disappointed in Andrew Yang. And the reason is, and that's the only additional clip I'll put in here because I just don't have the time, and of course the technical difficulties the first time I tried to edit this. But Andrew Yang, going and saying that Russia is the worst threat to America because they hacked our democracy, hacked our election. That was a disgraceful moment. then weaseling out with the issue with China and saying, "Oh, tariffs and whatever, that's not the way to do it." Well, how would you do it, Andrew Yang? Okay, how would you? The problem with Andrew Yang, of course, was that they did not give him too much time to explain some of his ideas. They gave him sort of a slot to explain the UBI, and then it was off with him. Too bad for him, but you know what? Too bad, too sad, because he is pro gun control. He is a Russiagator now. At least he's either pandering to the Russiagate crowd, or he is, for whatever reason, he's lost his mind. I don't think he's dumb enough to believe that Russia hacked our democracy, hacked our elections, whatever it is he said. He claims that now he is technically a tech executive, but he came out of he was a lawyer by education. So I don't know if he's really somebody who's a techie, or is he just a business person. So no, I was extremely disappointed and not happy with Andrew Yang's performance. And yes, this comes from I wanted him to really show a different way to be a candidate, and he didn't do it. It was just not good. Sorry, but yeah, D at best for him. Pete Buttigieg, I don't know what to say. Talking a little bit about his war experience in Afghanistan. He talked a little bit about that the incident with his the resident of South Bend who was killed by the police, Logan. I think it was James Logan was his name. Unfortunately, if Pete Buttigieg becomes too pro Black Lives Matter and all of that, you could see real problems at home because, again, he needs the police. Pete Buttigieg needs the police in order for South Bend to function and not melt down while he's on the campaign trail away from his job. So, no, I don't think that he did a great job. I also don't think he did the worst job. I would say maybe he got like a B minus. I think Pete Buttigieg, people do make fun of him because he is, he's gay, whatever. But look, I think that it's not exactly a great race for him. He's facing a lot of headwinds, if you pardon the pun. He's facing a lot of headwinds, but unfortunately, the headwinds have nothing to do with his identity and whatever. And the worst part of him is that he started to say, well, the country isn't, it's not governed by religious fanaticism like the Republicans would want to do it. Has he woken up to the past 4 to 5 years of American civic policy? Because the Republican Party is not the same party that I grew up with. He's talking about the party of the 80s and 90s with Jerry Falwell. Jerry Falwell, by the way, tried to run for the Republican nomination in 1988. So you had the Moral Majority and the Christian Coalition and Ralph Reed and whatever. They were trying to get into power, reinstill prayer in school, like really, really hardcore anti-abortion policy, 10 Commandments, stuff like that. And it didn't work. And the Republican Party has gone through a different phase that doesn't push away the evangelicals, but they simply are not in control anymore. Not at least of the domestic agenda. So it's a very stale message, Mayor Pete. Nobody cares that you're gay. Okay? We don't. I wouldn't say it's a great selling point, but we're not broken up over the fact that you hold hands with another dude. It's fine. We can move on. I don't think that you can move on, Pete. I think that's really the problem. So, yeah, I would say his performance was, with all of that, it was a B minus. It was a little higher than some of the other awful candidates that were out there. Joe Biden, probably like a C or a D. There were some points where he was forced to defend himself, especially concerning policies, racial policies and the 70s and 80s, and the Voting Rights Act and stuff like that. Things where he really had to step up and say, look, with all due respect, you guys keep criticizing things that happened in the 70s and 80s, but I accomplished a lot in that time. I've been involved in a lot of healthcare legislation over the years, things like that. I don't think that he did the worst job. I also don't think that he really defended himself effectively. And Kamala Harris really slaughtered him at a certain point and said, "Look, we believe in integration as a country now because of the fights that happened in the 70s and 80s. And at that time, you happen to be on some of these debates, including the forced busing debate. You happen to be on the side of segregationists because a lot of people, this is something that cannot be explained during a live debate. The fact of the matter is that segregationists in the South happen to find some kindred spirits in the North because people did not want, listen very carefully, it had, some of it had to do with race, but the fact is that I had a professor, a black professor of African American religion, who was, he was raising his kids at the time, and he was as far left as you can get. And he said that the forced busing policy was a horrible policy. You would have to put your kids on the bus, maybe 6:30 in the morning in order to have them bust across town. And then they would come home at like 6:30 at night, things like, or not 6:30, but whatever. They would have to be away for much longer than otherwise. It was a horrible policy, he said. What Kamala Harris succeeded in doing was muddling that whole issue and making it seem about, Joe Biden was trying to appease his voters who didn't want black and Hispanic students in their schools. That's not why the forced busing debate was being held and why people were opposed to busing. And I think if such a policy were instituted today, it would not really do very well either, because it was not a very easy thing for families and children to go through. You can read ample literature about it, especially concerning the Boston busing riots. Very interesting topic. Bernie Sanders, not like, he had some hard moments, like where he was challenged on the gun control issue. By the way, gun control, I happen to be the most anti-gun control well, I wouldn't say, there's some people that are pretty far out there, but I believe we should have less gun control than we have now. So anyone who's calling for more gun control is losing my vote. Okay, that's just plain and simple. So none of the people who are on the stage today or yesterday were people I wanted to vote for based solely on that. And then you could build out to all these other issues that they are wrong on, in my belief. So Bernie was challenged on the gun issue. I think that people got their digs in. Swalwell was demanding that he agree to a gun buyback where you would have the government buy 15 million assault rifles from owners. So we would be spending, listen to that, I would be paying taxes for the government to come in if I owned such a device. So the government could come in and buy my device, right? Does that sound normal? So I'm going to be paying taxes, but the government is going to pay me in order to take something away from me. That's the gun buyback, and unfortunately, Bernie was cornered by Eric Swalwell, this idiot of all people, and Swalwell got him to commit to the gun buyback. Unbelievable. Very bad look for him. The healthcare issue, it's the same thing every time with him. I don't think it helps or hurts him, because the people who support Medicare for all support it and support him, and the people who don't support it oppose him. I don't think that that's worth dwelling on. I don't think he did a horrible job. I would say I give him a B, but it's not going to be an easy field for him this year. It's not the same. But one of the advantages of 2016 was that Bernie Sanders looked, very refreshing, oddly enough, compared to Hillary Clinton, who was just awful. Who else is here? Let's go first with Michael Bennett. Not a terribly good debate, but not much to go on. Invoked the Holocaust concerning the border. Okay, saying, oh, my family was separated in Europe and whatever. Look, families do get separated. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you also going to ban divorce? Because not everyone wants to get a divorce, but sometimes well, I guess you would call it a partner now, but let's say your spouse, your husband or your wife, was to come and say, look, I want to get a divorce. Should you say, but families belong together? But families belong together. It's enough already. If you want to solve the border crisis, come up with an idea. They didn't have many ideas, not what I saw. In fact, they were talking about literally legalizing crossing the border without permission, legalizing illegal immigration. That was ridiculous. And the fact that no one pushed up against it, and that includes Yang, and that includes Hickenlooper, that shows that they have completely cucked on immigration beyond any measure that I've seen up until now. Who else? We had, so Swalwell, I think if you're talking about quality of the debate, he did well simply because he was very assertive and aggressive and was able to get in digs against both Bernie and Biden. So credit to him. I would say he got a B plus at least. You can't. I mean, I don't think he's a good candidate, but I think he did well at the debate. I would say he is overall a complete idiot. And that thing where he said, "Well, I have to remember my kids' clothes so that I can know their identities when I go to see them at the morgue because I'm afraid of a school shooting." Dude, shut the hell up. Nobody really takes you seriously. These school shooting, the use of them to justify policies that have nothing to do with keeping people safe and everything to do with wagging your finger at people who don't break the law. That's why people are not going to vote for Eric Swalwell, and he can remember as many people's clothes as he wants. It's not going to matter. Other people. You had Gillibrand, who was completely irrelevant. It was all me, girl power, we march and whatever. No, I think her campaign is toast. She's gone. Which, by the way, I would say Hickenlooper is approaching that. Bennett is approaching that. Williamson. The problem is that some of these people, they don't have anything better to do with themselves, even though Bennett is a sitting senator. So, what are you going to do about it? Kamala Harris had a good debate performance, I have to say. Challenged Joe Biden. That was the memorable part for me. I think that she does do well in these situations, like her or hate her. So that's about it. I am a little, I guess, bushed from the day. It was a very tiring day. A lot of work at work, and listening to this complete clown show. So I'm going to log off. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also subscribe to me on BitChute and on Minds, and also on Subscribestar if you want to donate. Those all have the screen name Chef Leopard. The links are in the comments below, as pinned to the first comment. And you can also find me on Gab at Starscream85 and on Parler for the moment at Razor Ray.
And this and all